Growing a business can be tough, and with all the uncertainty in the world, you'd be excused for feeling a little negative at times. So, if you're looking for a super effective way to create positive change in your life and your employees' lives, then you're going to love what world surfing champion Shaun Tomson has to share. It's time to paddle out into the big swell on episode 613 of the 13-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of Big Wave Marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. How do I do that? Through weekly in-depth conversations with successful business founders who have walked the path before us. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire that it absolutely deserves to be. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Couple of quick updates. Thank you to all those who attended the outsourcing webinars I ran last week. So well attended, so well received, full of gold for those who wanted to make their business lives a whole lot easier. So just well done to you for turning up. You're the motivated business owners that I talk about. One other thing I want to remind you of, people email me, say, hey, Timbo, what else do you do besides podcasting? And if you didn't know, I'm also a keynote speaker and an MC, and I'm particularly fond of doing that in front of audiences of people just like you, in front of audience of small to medium sized business owners or anyone interested in marketing. So I've got 3 keynotes, that little known marketing secret. One's called That's All About Helpful Marketing, just between you and I. Another keynote I've got is 10 kick-ass marketing ideas from 10 kick-ass marketers. And I've taken the best ideas, or some of the best ideas from over 600 episodes and put them into a 1-hour keynote. I've got workshops on branding, customer experience, on helpful marketing, on blogging. I MC. What else can I do? I can do panel facilitation, all that kind of stuff. If you want to check all that out, head over to www. Why did I even say that? No one says www not anymore. Head over to timreid, reid.com.au and find out all about that service of mine. And now, on with the show. Shaun Tomson has an impressive CV. He's a world surfing champion, an inductee into the Jewish and South African Sports Hall of Fame, the US Surfing Hall of Fame, and Surfer magazine described him as one of the greatest surfers of all time and one of the most influential surfers of the 20th century. Shaun is a past board member, excuse the pun, and ambassador for Surfrider Foundation, the world's largest environmental group dedicated to protecting the world's oceans. He started, managed, and sold 2 multi-million-dollar clothing brands, Instinct and Solitude, co-founded with his wife, Carla. And he's worked alongside Patagonia founder Yvon Chouinard. Wow, that's a good get. He's also the author of the best-selling books, The Surfer's Code, 12 Lessons for Riding Through Life, and The Code, The Power of I Will, and most recently, The Sage and the Surfer. In his books and from stages around the world, Shaun talks about the influence of positivity on success in life and business, based on his own experiences of overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges in and out of the surf. So if you're wanting a little reset, especially post all this COVID madness, if you want a little nudge in helping you get back to what you truly stand for in business and in life, then you're going to love what Shaun has to share as we go deep on how to write your own life's code, how to be mission-driven, the power of yes in business, and how to hustle. Shaun is a very, very good hustler. By the way, Shaun has lived quite the life, and we do touch on a topic or two that may trigger something for some of you. So remember, please talk to someone if you're feeling low, or you can always call Lifeline in Australia on 13 11 14. As business owners, we can't do it all ourselves. All right, here's Shaun sharing how we came to meet.
It's a great story. So I was out in Australia doing a series of events, principally a big fundraiser up on the Sunshine Coast called the Board Meeting Surf Charity. And every year, this wonderful guy has this event, and they raise a couple of $100,000. All surfers get together, about 600 surfers. There's auction items, and they just have this great event to raise money for kids that have both physical and mental challenges up on the Sunshine. And I hadn't been to the Sunshine Coast before. I'd been to Noosa, but I hadn't actually been to the area just south. So I had a wonderful time there. And then as part of the program, I thought, well, I'm going to reach out to some of my business clients because I do a lot of speaking around the world to large corporations. I did a big event in Sydney for a group called YPO, a Young Presidents Organization, which are essentially small to medium-sized business owners. There's about 30,000 of the crew around the world. And then I'd reached out and said, is there an opportunity? Who's the big employer up in the Sunshine Coast? So I got hooked up with the Queensland, the Sunshine Coast City Council, and spoke to Sarah's crew there, and it was wonderful. You know, I've spoken to a number
and she accosted you. I want to know how it worked, because the first thing I know is that Sarah calls me about 6 p.m. one night saying, I'm bringing this strange fellow home who just spoke at one of our events. Oh, okay. All right, what's his name?
Well, you know, Sarah's a good-looking girl, and what can I say? No.
You're only human. You're only human.
I've only been married for 35 years, been on the straight and narrow. Bloody Sarah took me down the wrong path. Your wife, your girlfriend.
She tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Would you like a feed? You're a stranger in a strange land."
It was so nice of her. You know, that's one of the great things about Australia is the wonderful hospitality and the friendship. I mean, I'm friendly with so many Aussies. They were my greatest rivals when I was on the pro surfing tour. So it was wonderful. And then we just connected over dinner. We had a couple of bottles of wine, maybe more than a couple.
That's right. Nice piece of eye fillet, a bit of red, and it was a lovely evening. And we put you in an Uber, and it was the last we saw of you. I hope you got home safely. Clearly
I got home safely. I did, yeah.
Australia's a bit of a nemesis for you, isn't it, Shaun? Because you have World Surfing Champion 1973. You've won titles all... 77, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to date you. You were quick to correct me there, by the way. Do you want to talk about your age?
Jesus, my age, yeah. You know, I still feel so young. I was out surfing this morning with my son. My son's 13, and he's a little 13-year-old kid. And, you know, there was only 5 of us in the water. It was a perfect day. And, you know, I paddled up. My son was waiting for a wave, and I paddled up to him, and I sat next to him, and I threw my arm around his shoulder, and I went, man, this has got to be the greatest thing, to sit in the water with your boy, with your arm around him, and he doesn't care, you know, he doesn't care what his mates think. And it was just, I just thought, wow, surfing is so, you know, we're so lucky. Yes, my competitive days are a long time behind me. And yes, Australia was a nemesis. I won everywhere in the world except bloody Australia. I got second in every damn event in the country. But, you know, with surfing, it's like the ride keeps going. I'm 67 years old now. I still feel like I'm 35, and I just get the opportunity to still get out there in the water and mix it up with the younger guys and be out there with my son. It's like beautiful.
What's the biggest lesson being a surfer, not a world champion surfer yet? I'll ask that next, Shaun. But what's the biggest lesson surfing's taught you as a human being?
You know, a number of years ago, I wrote something called Surfer's Code, which was 12 lines. Every line beginning with "I will." And I actually wrote down what I thought were the 12 fundamental lessons that surfing had taught me about life. And I printed them up on a little card, and I gave them out to a group of young students that were coming down to this beach that was faced with an environmental problem. I mean, it's sort of a long way to answer your question, but I wrote and I printed this card up, and eventually we started printing thousands and hundreds of thousands of these cards. They became really popular, and it was sort of a distillation of everything that surfing had taught me, and every line began with "I will." So one of my favorite lines in the 12-line statement is "I will always paddle back out," and I think that is a really resonant line for small business owners, for people that are in business, sometimes feeling that it's hand-to-hand combat with rusty cutlasses. But, that notion of no matter what happens, you're going to always paddle back out. You're going to have a terrible wipeout. You're going to be knocked to the ground. You're going to suffer. You're going to lose. But you're going to paddle back out. So it talks to both resilience and perseverance, but also, I think at a deeper level, it also talks to hope, because only by paddling back out can you put yourself in that situation to catch that next wave. So for me, that's one of the most fundamental lessons that surfing always taught me. Always paddle back out. And that's the only way to get the next wave.
Certainly it covers resilience and hope. And from a small business owner listening to this, there are times when, and I'll put my hand up to say I'm one of those people, there's times when you just don't feel like paddling back out. You feel like you've taken so many hits, you've tried so many different angles to get something up off the ground or to contact someone or to just, to take your beautiful business to the next level. But sometimes it's like, you know what? I think it's time to give up. And surely you must have looked back from the shore sometimes when you've been smashed by a wave and gone, yeah, that's too dangerous. That'd be silly to paddle back out. Or do you paddle back out whatever?
I paddle back out whatever. I'll tell your guys and gals that might be listening. I'll tell you a business story that directly relates to this. So I'd moved to the United States in 1995. I was living in South Africa. This was after I'd retired. I'd sold my first brand was called Instinct. I had a big brand. We sold in 13 countries. I sponsored 2 Australians to 3 world titles. I sponsored Tom Carroll to 2 world titles. I sponsored Barton Lynch to a world title. It was a very popular, very, very popular brand. I sold it, moved to the United States. I worked for Patagonia for 2 years, had 2 amazing years working for Von Chenard and the team at Patagonia. And then my wife and I decided, well, we
have got so much to talk about, Shaun Tomson. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
So we decided, well, we got to get back out on our own again. We want to start another business. I come from an entrepreneurial family, and my wife's an amazing designer. So we thought, well, we're going to get back into apparel because that's what we know. And my wife had been in the business all her life, and I'd been in the business for a long time. So we started a new brand. We called it Solitude. So there's a couple of, I think, not so much advice, but I'm just giving my perspective. It's really cool as an entrepreneur to pick a name for your brand or pick a name for your venture that actually has some meaning beyond just collection of words. Instinct, my first brand, was like the best moments in surfing are riding inside the tube, and the best tubes happen on Instinct. So I called it Instinct. Solitude was about escape, escaping the pressures of modern life. So, we created this brand, and the brand was rocking, man. The brand was really rocking. We sold in the biggest, best shops in the United States, Saks, Barney's. Movie stars were wearing our stuff, Bloomingdale's. We were in all the best surf shops and all the best outdoor stores. And we made the most beautiful product, and the first product that had an environmental philosophy in the surfing industry. People would say, Shaun, this is when the surf industry was really wrong. Have you become a effing granola cruncher? When we'd have this environmental granola, and I'm going, no, this is the future. Environmental sustainability and purpose. It's the future. Anyway, the company is rocking, and then 9/11 happened, and I actually was told about 9/11. My biggest sales rep at the time lived in just south of New York City, and he had an appointment with one of our biggest clients. It was called Saks Fifth Avenue. It's a very, very swanky collection of shops here in the United States, very influential. They used to have a lot of shops, big customer of ours. And he had the big appointment for our biggest collection of the year, our spring collection, that in September. He phoned me, he said, hey, Shaun, you won't believe what's happening. We're under a terrorist attack. Planes are flying into the towers. So, of course, that appointment was canceled. Then all the other appointments were canceled. And then the business just nosedived. Inventory just started piling up because we'd already put in all our purchase orders. But the demand absolutely vanished. so we struggle and we struggle and we struggle. And, essentially it was as my wife and I funding the business. Yeah, we had a couple of investors, but ultimately it was our name on the personal guarantee line. We were guaranteeing it at the bank, at the factor. So it was our asses and our home and our assets all on the line there with the lenders. So eventually, after about 6 months of just struggling and struggling and struggling, and it was very hard to restart the engine again after this catastrophe in the United States. My wife said to me, "Hey, Shaun, we're done. We've got to shut this baby down, and we've got to try to liquidate and get as much money out of the business as we can, because." We came over here as immigrants and we restarted again, and now we're going to have to restart again, but let's not go bankrupt. So I said, how can I do this? She said, no, we got to do it. We got to do it. So this is no bullshit. So over a period of weeks, we got rid of our team. We started to liquidate all the inventory. It's Friday afternoon, okay? The only thing left in the office is the server where all the data is, and my workstation. That's it. Everything's gone. It's stripped bare.
How are you feeling at this point?
I am gutted.
Gutted.
I tell you what, I'm so gutted, Tim. But I'm still fighting. So the move is coming to take my workstation and the server away. I go, nah, you're not taking it. I swear, this is Friday afternoon. I'm going, nah, you are not taking it. I'm fighting on. So I'm at home on Saturday morning with my wife, and I'm so depressed because there's like no way forward. I try to recapitalize the business. I couldn't find any investors. The market was still down.
How much were you staring down the barrel of losing?
Millions, yeah. It was harsh. Would have been it was a harsh hit. Also reputation, credibility, and also personal, self-esteem. So I'm at home and I get a call. It's my best mate. He said, Shaun, you won't believe what happened to me. He said, I was coaching a baseball game and a guy came up to me and said, hey, that's a cool shirt you're wearing. So first, that's miracle number one, because guys never go up to other guys and say, that's a cool shirt. That doesn't happen. I don't know. Maybe in Australia it happens now. Maybe Australians are more enlightened. I don't think so.
I do like the shirt that you've got on right now, by the way.
Yeah, but you're a very enlightened individual, I see.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, very in touch.
So my mate says, oh, it's a Solitude shirt. He said, wow, I love that brand. So my mate says, well, they've just gone out of business. I'm sorry. The guy said, well, I love that brand. He said, my father and I are investors in small businesses. Let's meet the Tomsons. This is Saturday morning. Sunday we go and we meet this family. We do a handshake deal. We reopen on Monday morning. 3 years later, I'm sitting in Park Avenue in this fancy building on like the 30th floor. And I've got the third biggest retailer in the United States sitting across from me. And I've been brought to New York by a publicly traded billion-dollar apparel company who said, Shaun, we want to buy your company, but I'm only going to buy it if you can do 1,000-store deal with this retailer. So I show the line to the retailer. The retailer's stoked. I'm going, okay, this is the deal. You got to give me a big opening order and you're going to commit to a 3-year deal. The guy puts his hand across the table. The woman puts her hand across the table. She says, okay, we'll open at 30 million. Kaboom. And I sold the company the next month.
30 million what? $30 million
that was the opening order. $30 million. That was the opening order. And then the publicly traded company bought us. And I tell you that story not because, I made this unbelievable deal. Because, by the time the investors and everyone was paid back, it wasn't like I'm going to move to Monte Carlo. But still, when I think, just paddle back out, man. Just paddle back out. Because only then can you get the next wave. And maybe some of your crew listening, guys and girls, might think it's a cliche, but it's not a cliche. It's not bullshit. This is how I feel at the core of my existence. And Tim, in 2006, my wife and I lost our beautiful son, 15 and a half years old. So that was the biggest knock and the biggest blow and the biggest, I think, the biggest thing that can happen to any parent. And, my son had written this amazing essay that he'd read to me. He was back at my old private school in South Africa just for a semester, and all the kids wore school ties. And he played this game, a terrible game. They call it the choking game. Kids, it goes around schools, private schools. Kids wore school ties. But he'd read me that morning. I'd phoned him. He was in South Africa with my wife, and he said, "Hey, Dad, I got to read you this." And he read me this, and I said, "Wow, Luke, these words are incredibly beautiful." I said, "What book is that from?" He said, "No, I wrote it in class today." And there was a collection of words in there. The light shines ahead. And, those words for me have really become a mantra. The light shines ahead. It's very much like always paddling back out, maintaining that hope, maintaining that optimism, maintaining that no matter what, that the light does shine ahead, and that you can get the next wave.
And I think as small business owners, I mean, you reflect on why are we small business owners? Many of us could have or have gone and worked for the man, in corporate. And we've chosen to run our own business. And there should be joy in that. And there should be, that there should always be light, because it's our baby, it's our idea, it's the culture we're creating, a brand that we're creating around us. And so, losing hope around that is sad. And the idea of paddling back out when things are tough is great advice, because sometimes it's a lot easier not to paddle out.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
I think there's a good analogy there too with surfing and small business owners, because, you're absolutely independent. Sometimes it's solitary. You're on your own. There's no one there that's going to be blasting in to rescue you. If you get hit by a big wave, you have to be aware of a constantly changing environment. I know that, and I'm sure so many of your listeners, when COVID happened, if you didn't pivot, you were kicked in the bum. I remember coming home. I was in Chicago for a series of 3 events. I did the first one, canceled the next 2 on those nights. They were for 500 people each. And I flew back and I said to my wife, "Carla, my business is done." I said, "Unless I make a change right now." So I phoned up around town here. I found a studio, found these guys who could give me like CNN quality broadcasts. And I started virtual engagements 1 week after COVID hit. And my second client was the hottest company in the world right then. It was called Gilead Sciences. They were the first people to develop a treatment for COVID called remdesivir. So they were on the front page of every paper. And they said, "Hey, Shaun, our teams are under pressure." And so from then, my business really rolled. But
so we're talking about your in this case, we're talking about your speaking business and doing it. Yeah. You're good like that. I mean, even just hearing you talk about your time in Australia, looking for, you were brought over here to speak at an event, but you why come all this way and not look for other opportunities? So you've always got your opportunity radar on, which I think,
hustle.
You got to hustle, mate.
I tell you what, Tim, it's like small business, you got to hustle. You got to hustle for the jobs, and you've got to hustle for the PR. And like I said to you, I don't call it PR, public relations. I call it profit and revenue, because when you do an interview, or when you do a podcast, or when you write an article for your local business paper, or you do a fundraiser, or you do whatever you do, it's profit and revenue. And I'll tell you this: the greatest PR company, both profit and revenue and also public relations in the entire planet, is Patagonia. So I worked there for 2 years, and people think that, Patagonia is this super soulful and purposeful company? Yes, they are. But they are the most...
Did you, for those who don't know that, Shaun, before you tell this story, because I'm fascinated to hear some of the, a key or insight or two that you've learned from working with Yvonne and the team at Patagonia. Just give insight into what Patagonia is about.
So Patagonia is a outdoor retailer. They have both shops, a big online business, and also a big wholesale business. They're about a $1.2 billion company. I was with them for 2 years in 1995 and 1996. They're doing about 165 million then. But it's a very purpose-focused business, and it always has been. They are strong believers that the earth is our home, and a dead earth is going to be dead business. So they're very focused on climate change. They're very focused on creating sustainable product, very focused on creating long-lasting and quality product. It's the most amazing company.
His message, one of Yvonne's messages, being the owner, is please don't buy my product. It's reverse marketing at its best.
That's what I'm saying. They took out a full-page ad in the New York Times on Black Friday saying, don't buy this jacket. And of course, the jacket went Richter. The jacket went like through the roof. It was totally reverse psychology. But, the fundamental, I think, ethos, and Yvonne would have these little philosophy sessions when we worked there. So I managed the apparel division, which was, at that time, was I think it was the single biggest revenue contributor. So he would say, "Hey, Shaun," because he's a surfer. He'd take me, we would go surfing, and
he's written a book called "Let My People Go Surfing." It's fantastic,
amazing ethos. I mean, when I first went down there for an interview, as I walked in, I saw there was a school right to the side of the HQ, and I said, "What's with the school?" He said, "No, it's our school. It's our school for our team members' kids." And I went, wow, what an amazing thing that here's a company, yes, focused on profit, but they're also focused on elevating their team members. So he would say to me, "Hey, Shaun, you got to understand, doing good is good for business." How about that? For every single independent entrepreneur out there, doing good is good for business. So I think in our business, we have to, all of us, be mission-driven, without a doubt. And I always encourage small business owners is if you haven't revisited your mission lately, revisit your mission lately. And like the greatest management and leadership writer in the history of the world, Peter Drucker, says that every year there has to be a process of introspection for every business owner, and you have to answer 5 questions. Super simple 5 questions. But the first question is what's your mission? And your mission has to be short enough that it's going to fit on a T-shirt. How cool is that?
That's nice.
And I told you when we had dinner, I remember mentioning it to you when we had dinner, I said, it's got to fit in a T-shirt. So you've got to have your mission. And the second question, who's your customer? I think everyone listening has to have a very, very clear idea of who their customer is. And not just who their customer is, but the third question is, what is your customer value? Like, why is your customer coming to you for your product or for your service? What is your customer value? And then the fourth question is, what are results? And there's only one person in the world that can identify what the results are, and that's yourself. Is your result, is it a quantifiable number? Is it, okay, well, I want to do $50 million in sales, or do I want to create some sort of social impact, or do I want to create some sort of community impact? Like, what are results? And question number 5, what's the plan? So it's a really simple way. It's super simple. And the book you can buy, I think you can buy it on Amazon for like $5. It's a super cheap book. It's thin. It takes you about half an hour to read.
I just want to go back to that first question, just challenging you on, well, yeah, I am challenging you on the mission thing. Not that I disagree with it, but I'm a little bit cynical around mission, core values, positioning statements. And I'll tell you why. Having worked in corporate for many years in a large advertising agency and going inside many large corporations, the Gillettes and the Mercedes and the Axes of the world, often these organizations, and I won't say which one in particular, but they have their mission on the reception wall, while you're waiting to go and see someone, and they've got their core values. Yet if you ask any of the staff at these organisations, what's the mission of the business that you work for? Or what are the core values? They don't know them. They don't know them. They become they often become motherhood statements. So as small business owners, how do we identify our mission that is actually not a motherhood statement, but actually something that gets us out of bed every morning?
Yeah, well, that's why it's got to be short. It's got to be sweet. It's got to be powerful. It's got to be impactful.
What's your mission?
My mission is to create a positive wave of purpose around the world activated by the code. That's what I do. I've spoken to millions of people, and everyone writes a code, 12 lines. Every line begins with "I will." And a couple of universities have studied the method, and it really plays into both self-development and organizational development as well. When people write their 12 lines, and then like I did last week. There's a small business group called Vistage. So Vistage has it's got a few thousand members around the world, and you'll have like a mentor, a leader of the group, and then you'll have a number of different Vistage members, and it's like a peer-to-peer network. So they'll meet once a month and they'll discuss their particular issues. It's very similar to YPO, but what I do at these events is people write the codes, 12 lines. Every line begins with "I will," and they stand up and they read it. So they read their 12 lines, they read their mission, they read their purpose, their personal mission and purpose to everyone there. And it just creates this amazing feeling of accountability, of connectivity, of unity, of pride, because people reveal their best selves. But also what it does, which is one of the most fundamental problems in the world today that we're faced with, and that's disunity. Especially in America, you've got the Republicans on one side of the valley, you've got the Democrats on the other, and you've got this black vacant space in between. So when people hear people reading this best version of themselves, they realize that we are way more similar than we're different. We're bound by common values. So I really love my job. I've got to say, I love what I do. I love being a pro surfer, and I love riding the biggest waves in the world and getting the best tubes and, racing around the world on beautiful beaches. I just had the greatest time, building businesses and it was just so fun. But this is so fun. And I really feel that I can go in to an organization, and I work with huge ones, small ones, sports teams, rehab clinics, prisons, and I can really show people a simple way to find a new path. It's super simple, Tim.
It is super simple. And the idea of 12 lines, each one starting with "I will," and I understand, I think your code is 105 words long, so it's not, we're not writing books here.
15 minutes. You've got to do it in 15 minutes. That's it.
Oh, okay, so you put a time constraint on it, so there's no
minutes,
sort of like talking yourself out of, that's no good, I'll go with something else. Well, you don't have time. You don't have time. Minutes. What's the thinking behind 12 lines?
I don't know why it came up at 12. This guy said to me, "Hey, Shaun, you've got to give these young students something to empower environmental consciousness, because we're bringing them down. We've got this environmental problem. We're going to bring the kids down, and all the media and the local government officials."
This is the first time you did it.
Yeah, and give the kids something to inspire them. So I wrote this little card, and I just did it quickly, and it was like stream of consciousness. And I don't know why, it just came out. It just came out at 12. It wasn't like I was planning 12. It was just like when I did it, it was finished. And I found that if you give someone a small little canvas, they can create, and a time limit, they can create something amazing. Whereas if it's a massive canvas and it's open-ended, like in business, when you're in business for yourself, there's so many things coming at you that you put things off. You know what I mean? You put this off, but here you're in this conference, you can't put it off. You got to write your 15 lines. So there's that personal accountability. There's a time limit, and everyone just writes the most amazing words. So what's interesting? So I've observed, having read way more than 1 million lines of code, is that while everyone writes beautiful lines, we only write 2 lines, which is really reflective of the ultimate meaning of life. So the one is, I will be better. We want to be better. We want to be lifelong learners. We want to be a better husband. We want to be a better father. We want to be a better wife. And then the other line is, I will help others be better. So we want to be a mentor. We want to be a teacher. We want to be a servant leader. We want to do good for our employees, our team members. And I think when people come to the realization that, yes, life is complex, but life is very simple too at its absolute essence, it gives you sort of
We're very good at complicating it.
Yeah, we are.
Experts. Is there a business in that? Come to me, I'll complicate your life. Could you reflect on a moment you've said you've been part of writing over 1 million lines of code for the various events and conferences that you've spoken at? Is there a moment?
No, reading. I've just been reading them. No, I only wrote 12. That was it.
I understand that. But you were responsible for inspiring others to write, millions of lines of code, starting with I will. Just, can you reflect on a moment where you thought, wow, I've really, really touched upon something here that is so beautifully simple yet so beautifully deep and effective?
So there's a prison here in Santa Barbara County Jail. It's got about 900 inmates, men and women. So I did this one group. They call themselves the 300 group, like 300 from Sparta. They very strong blokes. And so I go in there, and I'd never been. This was a few years ago, just before COVID. I'd never been into a prison before, thankfully. Yeah. So I'm talking to the guys, and you're in prison, and the doors are clanging shut, and you've got guards, and they got guns, and it's sort of quite an intimidating atmosphere. But I'd met the sheriff at a dinner party, and I said, hey, I'm getting terrific results from all sorts of different people and groups with this code method, and perhaps it might be motivating and inspirational to your inmates, because the single biggest problem, he says to them, the sheriff, he says, I never want to see you in this jail again. I never want to see your faces again, because recidivism is a big problem. They'll come out and then they'll reoffend and then they go back to jail. So he really wants programs that can perhaps have them finding and choosing a different path. So now I speak to the inmates, and then they write their 12 lines, all of them. And they've all been standing up now. They've been reading them. And it comes to most probably the biggest, strongest, toughest guy stands up, and he's a big dude. He's a big dude with lots of ink on him. A big, strong bloke. Eh? He could be front row in the. He could play front row by himself against the All Blacks by himself. He could take the 3 boys and he would bring them downtown,
right.
And he would take the locks down too. He could be an 8-man scrum against this guy.
We'll call him, just for the sake of the argument, we'll call him Bad Boy Bubba.
Jeez, with a big dude. So now he stands up and he starts reading his lines, and he comes to this line, I will forgive myself, and starts crying. So I'm checking this out, going, now what are the other inmates going to do? They all start crying, and they all gather around him, and they all hug him. It was amazing, Tim. It was amazing to see this moment of catharsis, this moment of vulnerability, this moment of connectivity and support. And the whole atmosphere, it was electric, but in a soft, gentle way. It was amazing to see that. And just to know that, man, words have got great power. Words have got power for the positive, and words have got power for the negative. Words can be magical, but they can be evil too. Like, look what happened here on the 6th of January with crazy Trump. with the civil insurrection here. But words have got great power, and I think that I've come to realize that our words have got the greatest power of all for us to find a new path, or just to rethink our business, to rethink our life, and find perhaps a different way.
Shaun, you speak at a lot of business conferences, a lot of large corporations. So you're often talking to employees, but I know you've spoken at YPO and other conferences where you have rooms of small business owners. I'm guessing, encourage them to do the code, and people can go to ShaunTomson.com. It's TOMSON.com and sign up and do the code for free. And then I've noticed letters of gratitude on your website, Shaun, that got me thinking. Like, for example, there was one from a teacher who had written a code purely for pick up and drop off. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because while he's not a small business owner, I guess my question is, can you then write codes for certain aspects of your business? I'm going to have a code for customer service. I'm going to have a code for how I go about promoting my brand. Or am I getting too micro?
Yeah, I think you are, but I think what's good is that the customer service team can all write their codes. Okay, so say, whatever size your business is, and maybe you've got quite a good sized team in customer service. They write the codes and they stand up and read them. So what I also have people doing is people select one line out of their 12 that is the most resonant line that they have constructed. To them, it's their most important line. And they text it to me, and it fills the screen. So if you've got 100, 200, 300, however many people you have in the conference or the virtual conference, those lines will start coming up. I will be a better servant leader. I will be a mentor. I will do what I say I will do. I will live a life of integrity. And these words roll. And it's amazing, the connectivity, because people are seeing the best version, the best piece from everyone in the room. And then what I do afterwards, I have and this is a great site for small business. It's called Fiverr. Fiverr.
Yeah. Well, it is. There are traps in Fiverr, but it is pretty amazing. You need to know who you're looking for. Any of these sites, based on their rating systems, go for the one with the most reviews.
So I have an artist I work with on Fiverr that creates a huge chalkboard graphic. So if you've got 100 people, and each one has made their one particular most resonant statement, I'll make up 3 graphics with like 33 and 33 and 33 graphics on them, and then I send it to the company, and they often will put it up in the HQ. And like you say, you can walk into an HQ and you'll see the same old bullshit stuff about values and crappy mission statement. And I'll tell you what's wrong there is that, the straight academic definition of culture, of business culture, is it's the unspoken assumptions that live within the walls that bind a company together. Okay. So but generally it comes down from the top. It's pyramid structure, top down. But I like to think that with the code, it's the written commitments that hang on the wall that connect a company. So you'll have all these, like a chalkboard with all these statements on, and these statements, one from each person. So it's egalitarian. So say you do your customer service crew, the whole customer service have got their board up there with, whether it's 10 people, 20, 30, whatever, however size the business is, and they've got their customer service. So it's not strictly related to customer service, but it's related to the team members, to the essential elements and building blocks of the company, because it's the team and the customers and the suppliers that make it up. So that it's the team ethos. It brings people together.
100%. And how important is that? Tell me about, I want to go back to Solitude and Instinct, the 2 apparel brands that you started, Shaun. This was obviously pre-code, before you'd actually landed upon the idea of writing code and becoming a speaker that speaks around the world. Those 2 brands, I imagine, got a real leg up because you were Shaun Tomson world surfing champion. Am I? Tell me if I'm wrong here.
Absolutely. You're 100%. No, certainly. And let me tell you, yes, they did, but a lot of other brands had famous surfers associated with them, but didn't achieve that notoriety or success. Let me tell you, I said to you earlier that I hustle because I love doing it. I would do promotions and events while I was competing on the tour on the East Coast in Joe's Surf Shop and, Wrightsville Beach. All the pro surfers are going like, what are you doing out there? I'm building my brand, baby.
Chill, mate. Chill.
I'm building my brand. I would go all around. I mean, I would be speaking at schools. When I was 19 years old, I'd be speaking at schools. And because I knew that, when you're an entrepreneur, it's 24/7, but it's 24/7, but it's a great 24/7. And it's like entrepreneurs don't take a day off. We don't have that fully paid holiday. We don't have the big
corporate account
retirement. Yeah. But we hustle, and I love to hustle. I love to, and I'm always on the phone trying to, what about, I would love to do a talk for your event. And one of the things is, so couple of things I've learned, but these two are, I think, really good for perhaps your listeners. One is that if you ask, what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst? That's it. And I found that people really love to help you. When you ask someone, hey, but it's got to be a quick ask, and it's got to be something pretty simple. But when you ask, I'm looking for a new agent for my book. Do you know of anyone? If you don't know, maybe you know someone who might know. And people, I have found that, and another thing too. So you got to ask, and also say yes. People phone me up and say, "Hey, Shaun, we want you to come and talk at a school," and I'm going, "Oh, geez, it's a 100-mile drive, and I've just come back from okay, yes, I'll do it," because you never know. It's both doing good, and also it's just say yes rather than say no. If you're an entrepreneur, say yes, because all the good stuff I think that's happened in my life has come not from saying no, but from saying yes. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. You need a favor? Okay.
There is that saying, what you say yes to determines what you say no to. So if you say yes to everything, then all of a sudden you are not being selective in terms of necessarily doing things that are going to play into your strengths, necessarily doing things that are going to build the bottom line of your business, if that's what's important to you. I mean, I sort of get it. It feels it feels like a good thing to do, and it feels like the right thing to do, but surely that can create as many problems as it does opportunities. Or am I just
quite a bloody cranky? Are you quite a cranky? Yeah.
you know what?
I love the pushbacks. I love the pushbacks. You're such a cool dude. Tim, you're a classic dude. I love it.
My beautiful Sarah's on the other side of the door, and she'll listen to this interview and she'll go, "You are a cranky old bastard." Glass half empty, Timbo. Here we go.
I love it. No, but
okay, but what's your response to that? Give old Scrooge here a response.
Okay, so I'll tell you this. So I get a call, 1984. Hey, Shaun, we're starting this new environmental organization, and there's a problem at Malibu, and we want you to be our first ambassador. We want you to, find a picture, write the copy for the ad, for the poster. And okay, yeah, let's go for it. So Surfrider Foundation was formed, and I became the first ambassador. Today, it's the biggest surfing environmental group in the world. And then when I have Solitude, the same guy that I said yes to phones me up, "Hey, Shaun, we're having this environmental issue at RingCon. Do something to inspire these kids." I write the surf. Okay, sure. I'd love to help you. Write Surface Code Card. Surface Code Card becomes popular. He phones me up. He says, "Hey, Shaun, I'm having this little get together and we want you to talk about the code." Okay. I go down, drive 100 miles down.
Yes, sir. Anything, sir.
Go down there. Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Go down there. Speak at the event. Guy comes up to me after the event. He goes, "Hey, Shaun, I think this would make a terrific book." I'm going, "I've never written a book before." He said, "Well, neither have I, but I'm a professor of French literature. How about us writing a book together?" Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
We write a book together. Surface Code comes out. Then I'm sitting in the lineup. A guy paddles up to me and says, "Hey, Shaun, I'm a headmaster at a local school. We got a tiny school, 80 kids. Do you want to
Don't
come and
ask.
talk?"
The answer's yes.
Yeah, yes, okay. I'll come down to school. I go to the school. Listen to this. Go to the school. Kids are stoked on the book. And I have this idea when I'm talking to the kids, hey, what about all of you writing your code? Because Surface Code was my code. Kids say yes. I get the first code back. I will be myself. Blow my mind. Write another book, the code. And then, then suddenly I'm speaking at all these different organizations. A guy phones me up, "Hey, Shaun, we're doing a big leadership conference and we want you to be the opening speaker. It's 2,000 people." I'm going, "Yeah, that's big. I said, "Who's speaking?" He said, "Well, after you is Malcolm Gladwell and after him's Richard Branson." I'm going, "Yes,
Wow.
I'm going for it.
Yes.
I'll take the drop. I'll go for it." So I'm just saying that I understand that so many millions of things can come your way, but just say yes. Just try saying yes, because for me, it's worked better. And that doesn't mean I say yes to everything, but I'm just sort of generalizing as a philosophy and as a concept and an ethos. I would rather say yes than no.
One of the great philosophers of the world is actor Jim Carrey. I think he had a film called Yes Man, and I can't remember actually what the outcome was.
Yeah.
Was it a good outcome that he said yes to everything for
He had
an
to.
entire?
It was like a spell. I think they cast a spell on me, and
That's
he had
right.
to say yes, and we had to tell the truth, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you get to meet Gladwell and Branson at that conference?
Yeah. And I've got a picture of them. Of course, I put that up on the website somewhere.
No doubt.
Yeah, they were cool. They were cool dudes. Of course, Branson was cracking on my wife. I said to my wife, "You better watch out, otherwise I'll knock him out." No, I'm only joking. No.
I had a story for another time. I'll leave my listeners in suspenders. But Branson threw a glass of champagne at me once.
No way.
Yes.
Cranky Aussie? Never were you being a cranky Aussie?
Probably. No, well, actually, yes, I was in a way, but it was in jest, but it wasn't very funny at the time, if you know what I mean. Tell me, Shaun, as a pro surfer, you have lived a blessed life, and congratulations on that. I think saying yes clearly works. You would have been surrounded by people, and I imagine good people, bad people, and untrustworthy, trustworthy. Did you have a mentor? Was there someone in that group that surrounded you that you absolutely look to, and did that person put their hand up, or did you approach them?
Yeah, I think for me, my most important mentor were my parents, my mom and my dad. My dad, way more in business than my mom, but my mom sort of had the spirituality and this kindness and goodness. My dad had been, an entrepreneur his whole life. So, I did look to him, but I lost him when he died when he was 57, when I was 24 years old. So, I did lose him early. So I didn't really have that sort of guy or woman that I could really talk to. So I had to pretty much find my own path. But I'll tell you, I was a voracious learner. While I was competing on the tour, I was at university. I mean, I went back and did my master's about 10 years ago, did a Master of Science in Leadership. I'm always trying to learn. When the whole COVID thing happened, I had to change my business. And, that's the thing with entrepreneurs. You've always got to be on your feet. You've got to be agile. You've got to be learning. It's in many ways, it is hand-to-hand combat. You've always got to be looking over the horizon. You've got to be looking. And even if you don't have a mentor, just read. And there's so much information great stuff that...
There's some good podcasts out there, Shaun.
Amazing. And Coursera is incredible. It's like I came... your podcast, specifically this one. I came to Australia a number of years ago, I remember, and I spoke to this little company. They had about 40 employees with Canva. Canva?
Yeah, I've interviewed Melanie Perkins. Amazing story.
I didn't meet her. I met the other crew. But what there was just sort of an interesting energy and vibrancy there. And I use Canva a lot now. If I'm sure a lot of your crew, your listeners are using a Canva, and it's awesome. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, I went.
I was talking to you about mentors, and you were talking about how you came out. Canva's just a great story. She had a mentor, and anyway, I'll put a link in the show notes to that episode with Melanie, because that is now, she's 30. I think I interviewed her when she was 32. The company was valued at $8 billion. I think it's worth a lot more now. I don't understand those numbers, but quite.
Yeah, I think she's the richest woman in Aussie.
Oh yeah.
No.
There's a mining magnate.
Mining.
Her name escapes me. She actually lives down the road from me. Sounds like I live in a very, very rich neighbourhood. I assure you, she has a much better house than I do. I wonder whether, Shaun, you've gone on, you have entrepreneurship in your blood. You had success surfing, and then you worked at Patagonia. You started 2 apparel brands. You now have a keynote speaking business. You've done really well. I imagine as a 1977 World Surfing Championship, the money actually wasn't that great compared to what it is today. It clearly didn't leave you enough to say, hey, listen, I'm just going to go to the Bahamas and surf for the rest of my life. And whereas today, these blokes are making gazillions of dollars and could easily retire and just put their feet up. Do you think it would have been different? You would have taken a different approach to life today if you were World Surfing Championship, retired with $50 million in the bank, or would you be still having a crack?
No, I'd still be having a crack. I mean, I love to have a crack. I love to take on new challenges. I just released a new book. That was also
The Surfer and the Sage.
That also came from saying yes. Sat down to lunch with a guy, I'd never met him before, and he spoke for 5 minutes. I spoke for 5 minutes, and he said, "Hey, Shaun, let's write a book together." He's a Pulitzer-nominated writer and poet, philosopher, and sold millions of. I went, okay, we'll call it The Surfer and the Sage. He went, right on, a guide to survive and ride life's waves. That's how that book came within 5 minutes. I'm working on a new book now about the code method and how we can use the code. I'm working with the most eminent positive psychologist in the world to write this new book. So
Jeez.
I'm always going.
Can I have their number?
I did this cool movie. Movie a few years back called Busting Down the Door. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to list achievements. I'm just trying to say that I have found that new challenges they keep you young, man. I'm 67. I don't feel like I'm 67. I feel like I've got still a lot more to do, a lot more to contribute to the world, a lot more to contribute to my family. And that's the essence of entrepreneurship. We've got the drive, It's not, you're just not a 9-to-5, clocking in, getting your paycheck, going home. We power. We're power people. I will power.
It's just interesting. I mean, what you said before, observe your observation around me, cranky old bastard. Maybe not cranky, but I do. No, well, no. It sort of resonates a little bit, and it like you. I mean, lots of opportunities come our way as entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter whether you've got a profile or not. Opportunities are out there, and they do come your way. And it's coming to the end of the year. It's late October, and it's a time to reflect on what are you going to do next year. And I, like many, I guess, who are listening, there are opportunities out there, but I do find myself sort of not saying no, but not saying yes straight away. And I'm not sure what the question is in there, Shaun, but there's something in me that just goes, oh, maybe I should hang up now from Shaun and just say yes for the next, 2 months and
I'll
see
give
what
you your
happens.
money back too.
Or,
if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back.
Thank you. I can't remember what money I've given you, but thank you for giving it back. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll pay for the dinner
Send
we
me an
cooked
invoice.
you. Eh?
Send me an invoice. Yeah.
Let's send you an invoice. Most expensive dinner ever. One of the things that you do, which I love, is that for every paid speaking gig, you do a free gig. Is that right? Whether it be virtual or...
Yeah, I love doing that. So I'll offer it to the organization. I'll say, they'll hire me and I'll go, listen, I would love to do a free speaking event for a school or university or community group, rehab clinic, whatever, whoever you support. I said, I think it creates a real good vibe with your team members, with your employees, because, we can get the media down there and your team member knows that the company is really behind this and the company is doing this, or else I just do it myself. I'll come back and I'll just do it myself. I'll phone up a school or university or whatever. And it's a wonderful way. It's a wonderful way to travel through life, because what I found is that when you give unconditionally, I'll tell you who the biggest beneficiary is. It's not the person you're giving to, but it's yourself. It's your soul. It just makes you feel so. It just gives you that sort of warm, meaningful feeling. And to anyone that's listening out there, it's just so wonderful to do it. And you don't have to trumpet it, and you don't have to tell people you're doing it, but just when you do it, it's beautiful to help. It's beautiful to help other people. So talking about giving and purpose, because I believe that there's been a fundamental shift especially over the last 4 years, with business generally, and business have become a lot more purpose focused, as opposed to just profit. And it used to be the golden triangle: profit, sales, and growth. It's profit, sales, growth, and purpose now. So Patagonia Yvon Chouinard just gave away his company. His company's valued at $3 billion. And he said, the headline in the New York Times, quote from him, "You can say we're not a for-profit company, we're a for-purpose company." So I've been pounding on this purpose concept for many years now, because I just think it's a wonderful way to drive your business. And, where does the profit come from? The profit comes essentially from purpose. Purpose is our North Star. I like to think there's like 5 parts to purpose. Purpose is aspirational, inspirational, moral, authentic, and timeless. And your purpose can really be identified by writing your code, those 12 lines. So you can see I'm on I really enjoy this path I'm on.
Hey, Shaun, I've loved chatting to you, mate. Thank you so much, brother, for what you do. And we're so blessed to have met you and have you for dinner the other night. ShaunTomson.com, ShaunTomson.com is where you'll find his books, booking for a keynote. Do the code. Everyone should do the code, and keep spreading the word, brother.
Thanks, Tim. It's been great. And like I say, the code, it's open source code. So you can use it in any way, shape, or form you want. And also, I love to connect with people on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm pretty active out there, spreading the good word about the code. So, I love to connect with people. So thanks, Tim, man. Love to Sarah.
Well, there you go, team. Gentleman of the surf, Mr. Positivity, and world surfing champion Shaun Tomson. You know what I love about the work Shaun is doing with the code? It is so elegantly simple, yet so impactful on the lives of those who do it. I encourage you to head over to Shaun Tomson, that's TOMSON.com, and create your own code absolutely free. Print out a few copies and post it where you'll be reminded of it every day. And guess what? I'm currently in discussions with Shaun to be his guy on the ground in the Asia Pacific region, delivering the code to business owners, employees, schools, clubs, whoever is up for some positivity in their lives. Quite excited about that. It's in progress, not 100% confirmed, but looking very, very good. You'll find all the links mentioned in my chat with Shaun over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/613. What was your big takeaway from that chat? Let me know. Call the Small Business Big Marketing hotline on 0480 015 150. And be sure to leave your business name and website for some gratuitous self-promotion, just like long-time listener and motivated business owner Peter Hamer did.
G'day, mate. It's Peter Hamer calling, and my company name is Beverly Hills Business Machines. I've listened to you for a little while now, and it's a great show. And now I've shared it with my son, and he thinks it's also a great show. You were mentioning today on, I think it was 601 or 600, some P principles, and we've run for a very long time on the 3P principle: price, performance, and personal service. Now, I've found in our service business that the last one is really the most important one, and the price is the least important one. For a lot of reasons, the kind of customer that is price-driven is sometimes a difficult customer. But if you can look after those 3 things, price, performance, and personal service, I think it will serve any business well. Thanks again for everything you do, and important things are learnt by listening to your show. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Pete, you're a legend. Thank you so much for taking the time, brother, for calling the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline. Great work on the 3 Ps. I love it. Totally agree with you that price is the least important. If you do want to learn about how to take your customers' eyes off the price, be sure to take a listen to episode 589 with customer attraction expert John Dwyer. Well worth a listen. And Pete, I'd add a 4th P. People. Hey? Can't live with them. Can't live with them. But it'd be a good one to add. Hey, everyone else, be like Pete. That's the 5th P. And call me on 0480 015 150 and share your best marketing tip with me. If you happen to be overseas, add a +61 at the top of that number and drop the 0. So it's +61 480 015 150. Whack it in your phone under Timbo. Got some super duper guests coming your way in the coming weeks. We're going to hear from Australia's leading e-commerce specialist who just wrote E-commerce for Dummies and Shopify for Dummies. We'll also catch up with one of my marketing heroes. In fact, he's responsible for helping me identify the whole concept of helpful marketing. His name is Jay Bayer, and I'm super excited to bring that interview to you in the coming weeks. If there's a business owner you'd love me to chat with, then email me, tim@timreid.com.au, and I will absolutely give him or her good consideration. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button on your favourite podcast app, where you will find 612 more chats with successful business founders. This show was stitched together by editor extraordinaire Alex Amster, the music bed written, sung, produced by our very own rock star Lockie Doley. Most importantly, though, thank you to you for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.